start, ma'am? All right. So before I start with this, I would like to introduce ma'am first over here. So ma'am is basically, we all know, but yes, ma'am is Dr. Gurmala Suri, right? She has been there with the Women in Education Leadership Award 2017. She has received that, and she's presently working as professor in Punjab University, Chandigarh. Her contribution to the education and industry is globally recognized through several research papers and publications in many reputed national and international journals, and she has presented papers as well in national and international conferences. She has been guiding PhD, postdoc, fellow students on their research journeys. Additionally, in professional capacity, she has worked as management trainer as well as management consultant for several companies. If I talk about her years of experience, she is having 25 plus insightful experience in coaching, including everything like guest lectures, consulting, HR research, writing, chairing sessions in different national and international conferences as well. As I said that she has worked as a management trainer and consultant as well. So her industry exposure is also there in consulting, education, IT, medical equipments, agriculture technology as well. Adding on to her education, she is PhD in Applied Business Economics. She is MSc in Statistics and Operational Research. She is having a diploma in Russian language. She is postgraduate diploma in computer application, as well as she has a certification course in IPR. So a diverse kind of education background ma'am is having. And from the academic experience, if I said that 25 years of experience, she started her journey from 1995 and now she is presently, as I said, is professor into Punjab University. And her research interest areas are business process re-engineering, total quality management, knowledge management, organizational effectiveness, e-learning. And if I start talking about the list of achievements awards, it would be a huge list, but to brief out, she has been recipient of Devang Mehta National Education Award, Women in Education Leadership in December 2017. She is a visiting fellow, Hungary University Grand Commission India Award 2010, Indo-Swiss Bilateral Program Fellowship 2007, the Best Paper Award, A Glimpse of IPR Issues in the New Information Order, Chartered Secretary 2007, visiting fellow, University of Lausanne, Switzerland 2005, Commonwealth Fellowship 2003. So the list is quite long, so without taking much delay, I think, can I request ma'am that we can start with this
Please.
final, ma'am?
Yes.
All right. So Pathak sir, all the best. Please start it.
Good afternoon, all the esteemed members of the panel. It's really my privilege to give my presentation in the presence of such an academic luminary, and I would like to try my best to satisfy her. Now, I will start. Before I start with my presentation, I would be thankful to some of the people who have been very helpful in this journey. First of all, I will remember my late mother, who always wanted me to complete this, but now she is not there. I am very much thankful to my father, my wife, and my children, who have been the wind beneath the wing. And then I am thankful to my guide, Dr. Priyanka Chibber ma'am, who is not only a very good academician, but she is also a very good person. She has always helped me. I also remember here Dr. Sunil Budaraja from Tata Institute of Social Sciences, who was my guide, and he is still helping me out. Dr. Vishwas Gupta, my previous guide. Dr. Rajesh Verma sir, Senior Dean. Dr. Sanjay Modi, Pro Vice Chancellor, and all the esteemed members of the Mittal School of Business faculty members, who have been my colleagues also. And now I would like to start my presentation. So my topic of the presentation is a study on social security of unorganized construction workers in Punjab, with a special reference to Unorganized Workers Social Security Act 2008. So there have been certain things that I try to explain first before I give the detailed presentation. First of all, what is social security? When we talk about social security, the people get confused about social security and labor welfare, employee welfare. Both are related to the workers, but there is a certain differences between social security and labor welfare. When we talk about social security, we basically try to protect the workers against certain contingencies of life, like unemployment, workplace accidents, death, unemployment, maternity, and whether the state organizer is going to protect them or not. So in the case of organized workers, there are so many things already available, but in case of unorganized workers, there are hardly anything like that. So this is the thing that prompted me to go for this study. Now, chapter-wise, I am going to discuss chapter-wise introduction, literature review, research methodology, findings discussion, conclusion and recommendations. So, when we are going about the background of the study, as I have already told you, a very prominent and dominating feature of the labor market in India is the growth of unorganized workers in all parts of the country, including urban, semi-urban and village areas. In our economy, the organized domain plays a very important role in the context of certain creation of jobs and poverty abolition. Income earning capacity is improved for a great number of people through this sector. So Vivek has told about this in 2021. Now there is a number far more than workers in organized sector. So their number is great. But the organized workers do not find themselves receiving social security facilities provided by either the government or the job providers. This is not only a matter of study to be discussed, rather this calls for addressing various challenges and obstacles in the way of delivering desired facility of social security to the unorganized workers. Whereas organized workers are concerned, they are much less than all organized workers, but they are getting all sorts of benefits. There have been so many laws. I will be discussing about some of the laws. Employee welfare schemes give them benefits at the place of work. They are also provided different type of social security like provident fund provisions and gratuity provisions and post-retirement benefits. Now a very important thing is that the government had amended the Maternity Benefit Act 1961. Earlier it was only 16 weeks of maternity benefits. Now it's 26 weeks. 13 weeks before delivery, 13 weeks post-delivery. But this benefit is also lacking in the case of unorganized workers. There have been so many cases of unorganized workers who, when working in construction work, met with accidents and became disabled. They were not able to get any social security benefits and had to return to their native place. One feature that I will be discussing later on, that most of these workers are migrant workers. So if I am talking about the Punjab, when I studied, out of 800 workers, not a single worker was from Punjab. They were either from Jharkhand, Bihar, Madhya Pradesh, Chhattisgarh, and surprisingly they were from Maharashtra also, whereas Maharashtra is supposed to be a developed state. In certain cases, due to the sickness, out of occupational hazards, they were not able to continue to work and had to return to their native place. And my research fall in between Corona period also. So during Corona period also, there were certain types of problems. When the organized construction workers are not able to do the work on account of old age, they have to depend on other relatives. Since they come from economically poor families, they had nothing to fall back upon. These workers do not get any type of lump sum amount as a provident fund or gratuity, hence they are not able to set up a small business or trade. They move from one place to another, hence they are not even noticed as individuals. That is a very significant thing, that they are not considered as individuals, as a recognized individuals, as a recognized worker, as a recognized citizen like this. They survive for the sake of survival. This is a very pathetic state of affairs. Now coming to unorganized workers, because sometimes there is a confusion as to who is unorganized workers. Most of the time we know about the organized workers. Unorganized workers comprise those working in the organized sector or households, excluding regular workers with social security benefits provided by the employer, and the workers in the formal sector without any employment and social security benefits provided by the employees. These workers are destitute and illiterate and don't have wealth. They do face health hazards and remain ignorant of laws that can protect them. The jobs in which they are engaged do not get the attention of the government presently for enforcing labor laws and regulations and for providing any kind of social security. Ramanujan has said in 2010 itself. Now coming to the Act, the phrase unorganized workers get explained in the legislation named as Unorganized Workers Social Security Act 2008. That was the first act by any government. In the year 2008 only this act was passed. No state government, no central government has passed any act for the organized workers prior to that. So who are the unorganized workers? Under this act, they may be a home-based worker, self-employed worker, or a wage worker in the organized sector, and includes a worker in the organized sector who is not covered by any of the acts. Now this is important. If a worker is not covered by these acts, we can easily find out that these are organized workers. Like Employee Compensation Act 1923, Industrial Disputes Act 1947, Employees State Insurance Act 1948, the Employees Provident Fund and Allowance Act 1952, the Maternity Benefit Act 1961, and the Payment of Gratuity Act 1972. National Sample Survey Organization conducted a survey in 2012 and concluded that complete jobs in both the sectors in organized and unorganized area remained 47 crores. Almost 8 crore people remained in the industry which is organized, and the rest 39 crore were in the unorganized sector. It was as per the annual report 2015-16 of Ministry of Labour. As per the economic survey of 2021-22, an estimated total number of people working in the unorganized sector is around 43.99 crores. So one important challenge is also that we are not getting the accurate data. Only estimations are there, whether it's done by the government or any type of national sample survey organization. An estimated 14.94% of the NDP, net domestic product, is generated by the unorganized sector as per the NCUS 2008 data. So again, there remain 38 crore unorganized workers in India according to the published report on the periodic labor force survey conducted in the year 2017-18. Construction worker is also a type, so I am focusing upon construction workers. So construction workers is also a type of unorganized workers. These people are majorly found working in towns, naturally in cities, because construction workers are majorly happening there. The nature of their work is casual in most cases. These people are found to be working in the major 6 cities also, where I have studied. These are Ludhiana, Mohali, Amritsar, Jalandhar, Moga, Fagwara in the state of Punjab also, and are in huge number. What are the characteristics of unorganized workers? There happen to be not a single set of authentic data about the exact number of unorganized workers in the country or in any state. There are only estimates about the same. This is a big problem. The unorganized sector in general undergoes seasonality of work and job very much. The majority of the rural working living in their ancestral place have not get chances of fixed and long employment. Hence, out migration makes them unorganized workers in cities. So now, why they come from their place? It was not a pull factor, it was a push factor. It means that they were not attracted toward the benefits of the state, rich state like Punjab, but they were pushed due to their economic conditions. They were not in a position to survive. Where survival was not there, so they moved. The workplace, now another feature is that their workplace is not fixed to a locality, not developed systematically. Whether today they are in Moga, tomorrow they may be in Jalandhar, again they may be in Ludhiana. It is very difficult to find out their fixed residential location or place. There remains the total lack of any official and employment relationship. Now, what is employment-employee relationship? When there is the employment relationship, in that case you are in a position to provide them benefits, because you find out that this person is working under this organization. Like initially, gratuity was not given in the academic institutions, but later on it is also covered the schools and colleges. Now anybody who retired from academic institutions, they get the gratuity. Why? Because you can find out what is the employment relationship. They are working in this organization and they are the employer and they are the employee. But here you cannot find out that. So their workplace is not fixed, their residential location is not fixed, there is no official employment relationship. They are generally dependent upon farm owners, and now when they come, so what was the reason? They were dependent upon farm owners and rich persons for all their needs in villages. This situation worked as a push factor that I've already told you for such exploited classes to move to urban areas and function as unorganized workers of any sort. Local police personnel are also exploit the workers since they do not have any formal recognition or documents. They don't have got any type of documents. In many cases, they did not even have an Aadhaar card, or if they have got it, they have it from their village area. Their activities are also monitored very strictly. One interesting aspect of this massive workforce of unorganized workers is lack of regular employment, social security benefits, and less wages and a worse work environment, as told by Sen in 2013. Now, very old techniques of production and traditional employment relations which are prevalent across this sector do not encourage or motivate the workers to have skills. So that is also a thing, that if suppose that even if they are working in the unorganized workers and if they become skilled somehow, then they can get the job. But where they work, they are not provided with the certain type of things which make their skill improved. So skill is also not going to be improved. They are not represented by any group or fight for their cases. Now, what does it mean? They are not represented by any group to fight for their cause. Now we can see that there are so many types of trade unions in our country. Like if I am talking about, and these trade unions union also. Although the union knows that such types of workers are working in that particular area, but they don't care about it. So this was a pie chart, again the same thing that I already told you. Now coming to construction workers, according to an estimate, the country have around 8.5 million people of the working class are getting jobs in building and related classes of construction workers as per Prasad 2011. The building and other construction workers are always thrown to risks to life and limb during their employment. Jobs are also of casual nature. The irregular employment relationship, volatile work schedule, absence of facilities and dearth of health and safety facilities are there. Due to the lack of any legal provisions, the correct data of the number and types of accidents is also missing. Now why I am talking about it? As per provision of Factory Act 1948, if there is any accident taking place within 24 hours, the matter has to be reported to the factory inspector. And who is a factory inspector? Every deputy commissioner of his district is a factory inspector. So if any type of accidents happen, it is the duty of the factory inspector to visit the place, and it is the duty of the factory owners to report. But in case of organized workers, even if there is any type of accident, there is no mechanism to sort it out, that how the accident has taken place. Now coming to social security, it is very important. What do you mean by social security? Social security can be defined as the provision of benefits to households and individuals through government or collective arrangements to protect against low or declining standard of living arising from several basic risks and needs as per Goel Versa. Social security got declared a fundamental right of human in 1944 under International Labour Organization Declaration in Philadelphia. Indian Constitution provides various benefits related to social security for vulnerable people, including workers. And entry number 24 in the list 3 of the Schedule 7 makes provision as follows: welfare of labor, including condition of work, provident fund, liability for workers' compensation, invalidity, and old age pension and maternity benefit. But it does not say that these benefits will be only for the organized workers. It says about all workers, but benefits are not going for the unorganized workers. Social security can be considered as a system comprising benefits delivered to workforce to help them in the event of unforeseen challenges of life. Now, what are these challenges are? First is senility. Senility means that due to old age there are so many types of problems are there. That is senility. Then accidents. Workforce accidents happen in the construction worker. Then occupational disease. Occupational disease are not accidents, but due to certain type of jobs, certain types of you can say disease happens. Like in chemical factories, somebody may have skin cancer. So that is not an accident, but that is a occupational disease. Invalidity. If they met with an accident, if they are just there is some accident and they are not able to properly perform their task now, like as per the Employee Compensation Act, they have made a deliberate that if the one limb is defective, how much compensation is there? If they are deaf, what is the compensation? If they become blind, what is the compensation? But here also, no provisions are there. Old age pension. There is no concept of old age pension for the organized workers as such. And maternity benefits, the question does not arise. Social security can be considered as a system comprising benefits delivered to workforce to help them, that I've already told you. Then that is an important thing that I wanted to emphasize is that throughout the world, social security can be provided under two types of categories. One is social assistance and second is the social insurance. Now, what is social assistance? Social assistance is such a system which is provided to workers without any contribution on their part. So, it normally, who is going to give that? Only the government would be going to give it. So, government provides, whether it's the state government, whether it's the central government. They provide the social assistance. Then there is the concept of social insurance. Now, this concept we have taken from Germany. In Germany, this system was of social insurance was there, that the employee is going to contribute certain amount of money, and after their contribution, they are going to get certain types of benefits. So, neither there is social assistance nor there is the social insurance. So, social insurance is contributory and social assistance is non-contributory. Social insurance is primarily aimed at protection from want, whereas social assistance, besides wants and hunger, also helps to remove squalor, poverty, disease, ignorance and exploitation, as told by Naik and DN in 2016. Now, this is important. Social security benefits as per International Labour Organization, because it should be known to everybody that when we are talking about different type of labor standards, we are not making the labor standards on their own, because we are the founder member of the ILO. So it is obligatory on our part to make certain laws for the workers. So as per the ILO standards, Social Security Minimum Standards Convention number 102, these are the things that falls under the category of Social Security. So there cannot be debate that whether it falls under Social Security or not, because ILO has told about that. One is the medical case. What is the medical care? If the employee feels sick or any type of medical problem is there should be medical treatment that should be borne by the organization. Then there is a sickness benefit. There is confusion about medical benefit and sickness benefit. What is the difference? In case of medical benefit, it is the treatment in the hospital, free. In case of sickness benefit, you are getting leaves, paid leaves. It means that you would be at work, not workplace, but salary would not be deducted. That is called sickness benefit. Then unemployment benefit. If somebody is unemployed, during the period of unemployment, they would be getting certain amount of compensation. So in case, the recent example is the USA, where during the Corona period, Donald Trump announced that they would be giving them the compensation, and the compensation was so good that when the Corona period was over, still the people did not want to work because they were happy with the compensation. The rate was so high. But a country like India, we can't do that. But even the minimum unemployment benefit is not provided to the employed. Old age benefit, there are so many types of benefits, including the medical benefit, pension, and the other things. Employee injury benefits, that also comes under Social Security as per ILO. Any type of injury. Family benefits, if there is a death of the person, then whether the family is getting any type of compensation. Then maternity benefit in case of female. Now, under Maternity Benefit Act, 23 weeks benefits are given to all the employees working in any organized workers. And if the children are more than 2, then this 26 comes to 16 weeks only. But in case of unorganized workers, this is not there. Now, invalidity benefits, if somebody is not able to perform their task after the accident, and so on the basis of their invalidity, if there is a 30% invalidity, 30% compensation should be provided as per the Employee Compensation Act. So these are the provision by the International Labour Organization in Social Security. So again, categorization of Social Security is social assistance, where the employee do not contribute anything. Social insurance, where the employee is going to contribute. Now coming to the law. The first law and the only one law that was made for organized workers in India. Unorganized Workers Social Security Act 2008. The government for the first time in 2008 made a law named Unorganized Workers Social Security Act 2008 to deliver social protection facilities to unorganized workers in case of any problem. This act is extended throughout the country and extended to all unorganized workers, including construction workers. This law is made keeping in view facilitating social security and social welfare facilities to unorganized workforce. Although the unorganized workers Social Security has identified 10 social security schemes for unorganized labor, but the act has just mentioned a few guidelines of the scheme which lacks any legal binding on government as well as on employers. Hence, most of the laborers do not know about the rights and welfare schemes of the government. In a few cases, although they have an idea about the scheme, they do not know how to approach and where to approach. Hence, apart from the government, the National Social Security Board, NGOs, and all other stakeholders must come forward and with a hand-to-hand to register India as a welfare state in the true sense of the term. This is required as per Viswas 2020. Now, under this act, they have mentioned about certain schemes. These were the schemes that were mentioned: Indira Gandhi National Old Age Pension Scheme, then National Family Benefit Scheme, Janani Suraksha Yojana, Janshri Bima Yojana, Rashtriya Swasthya Bima Yojana. Now it's become Ayushman Yojana, Aam Aadmi Bima Yojana, and there were certain schemes which were not relevant, but I have given the name. For handloom weavers, there are certain types of schemes. Another scheme is the Handicraft Artisans Comprehensive Welfare Scheme, National Scheme of Welfare of Fishermen, the Pension to Master Card Pension Scheme. Now some other schemes have been recently developed. These are the Pradhan Mantri Suraksha Bima Yojana, Pradhan Mantri Jeevan Jyoti Bima Yojana, Atal Pension Yojana, Pradhan Mantri Shram Yogi Mahata. Now justification, what are the key points? The problem regarding unorganized construction workers is lack of statutory social security provisions in connection with unorganized construction workers. Concession Act, Maternity Benefit Act, different social security benefits are provided. This can be concluded that social security of unorganized construction workers is a very relevant topic for research. On the one hand, the numbers of unorganized workers are larger than any other category of workers. On the other hand, they are getting the least social security benefits. These unorganized workers are not aware of the different social security schemes. In the lockdown period, they suffered a lot. As per COSIC 2020, the first step for entering social security was passing of the law named Unorganized Workers Social Security Act 2008. Under this act, the central government and the state government were authorized to deliver various social security facilities to unorganized workers. This act provides for many schemes and encourages different government to develop a mechanism to provide social security to unorganized workers. This act provides for many schemes and encourages different government to develop a mechanism to provide social security to unorganized workers. This study focuses on the awareness of the workers about the benefits meant for the workers. It studies awareness of these benefits among the intended beneficiaries and tries to find out relationship between the awareness about the act and perceived meaningfulness of the act. That whether if they are aware, do you perceive it meaningful? Opinions of experts and government authorities have also been sought regarding the same. The topic for research has been a neglected area of study. Hence, the research will prove beneficial for the workers as well as the society. Now, coming to literature review, there have been some studies on problems and challenges associated with unorganized workers in India. Academicians and experts have given their views on these issues and have also suggested measures to resolve these issues. Based on the themes of studies, following sets of literature were found to be relevant and contributory to my research work. The government of India announced many relief packages during the COVID-19 pandemic, but a tiny portion of these packages has been spent for social security purposes of the unorganized workers as per Mukherjee 2022. Now coming to the literature review at a glance. Now it was a thematic type of literature review. So first, issues and problems of, and these are the names of the authors. So what were the summary of these type of authors? Unorganized employment is deprived of social security. It means that they are not going to get any type of benefits. Construction workers do not get benefits as received by the organized workforce. Laws only cover social security benefits for only organized workers, and this act is not a comprehensive law. Workers in construction area have a very indecent standard of living. Their standard of living is also indecent. That is another dimension. Bargaining strength is very poor because there is no concept of collective bargaining. There is no Ministry of Social Security. In many countries, there is a Ministry or Department of Social Security. But in our country, there is no Ministry of Social Security. Building construction workers do not get right quality of nutrition. That is also a challenge. And most of the workforce in India is in our organized sector. This is a fact. Yes. Then in India.
Can we go directly to the objectives? We have a
Okay.
fair idea of the review of literature.
Okay. So these were the objectives of the study. First was to examine the nature and the scope of social security provision for unorganized construction workers as mentioned in the Unorganized Workers Social Security Act. So basically we try to know what is the scope of this act and what is the nature, whether it is meant for which type of workers, and it happened through study of the act, different types of government rules and regulations and other literature. The second was to examine the role of various demographic variables in relation to their work category. So there are different types of work. There are 5 types of work category that started from unskilled, skilled and all those types of things, manual, mason. So whether they are going to be affected by the demographic variables. To examine the awareness level of the construction workers with reference to the act, how much aware they are about this act. To examine the role of various demographic variables in the level of awareness amongst the construction workers with reference to the act. And And next was to examine the relationship between the level of awareness and perceived meaningfulness derived by the worker in the social security domain. And last was to qualitatively analyze the respective roles and responsibility of various labor enforcement agencies, authorities to suggest a framework for effectively implementing the act. So for this we have to contact it to the labor enforcement officers. These were the research questions. So should I start this way or? Hypothesis for objective 1.
Okay, hypothesis is fine. We understood the hypothesis. Design. Yes, we can talk about design and sample and then data analysis.
Okay. The research design has been descriptive as well as exploratory. The study commenced by obtaining and analyzing secondary data available from different government agencies. A mix of quantitative and qualitative data was collected from the construction workers, members of their families also, and various authorities respectively. Sample size. The sample was collected based on multi-stage sampling in the first stage. 2 strata were created based on urban population density. Now I based upon it 2011 sample because 2021 there was no sample has taken place. So naturally this city was randomly selected from each stratum. A total of 6 cities before moving into the second stage of sampling. These 6 cities were selected out of 10 municipal corporations. At that time there were only 10 municipal corporations whose census data was available. These cities represented the most populous cities and 3 represented the least populous out of selected 6 cities. These cities were Ludhiana, Amritsar, Jalandhar, Moga, Pathankot, Phagwara in descending order of population. In the second stage of sampling, proportional sampling of construction workers was taken using convenient and snowball sampling, considering the size of the target population because it was infinite population, acceptable margin of error and the time constraint. A sample size of 845 workers was considered ideal for this research, but due to COVID-19 pandemic, a large chunk of construction workers migrated back to their hometown. So final sample size remained 800 workers. Since as per the last government census, the total population of this city was 40.61 lakhs and the breakup was Ludhiana with 16.18 lakhs, Jalandhar 8.68 lakhs, Amritsar 11.59 lakhs, Moga 1.63 lakhs, Pathankot 1.56 lakhs and Phagwara 0.96 lakhs. Hence 320 samples were taken from Ludhiana, 228 from Amritsar, 170 from Jalandhar, 33 from Moga, 31 from Pathankot and 19 from Phagwara. The level of awareness regarding any government scheme has been measured by a mix of direct and indirect question, gauging subjective and objective feedback. In the absence of a standardized questionnaire to measure the level of awareness and perceived meaningfulness, a questionnaire schedule was designed to collect responses from the workers. Initial research instrument was drafted based on the broad framework, issues and challenges faced by the organized workers. The research instrument was content validated by academicians and practitioners before administering the data collection. After incorporating the feedback from the experts, data was collected between January 2020 and continued till May 2022. The data was collected by physically interacting with the workers at various construction sites, labor jobs and other places. So these were the sample size, total population, relative population of the cities, proportionate sample size responded in percentage terms, sample size and sampling techniques. A semi-structured interview was done for a sample of 10 authorities across various departments to collect the qualitative data from the authorities. The officers interviewed were labor officers at the select cities. All the officers were male and the average duration of the interview was 55 minutes. So from the different places. Use of statistical tools to test the proposed hypothesis. A set of univariate and bivariate techniques were used. SPSS 22 version was used to perform administered t-test, ANOVA, correlation and frequency tables were used to find out the relationship among variables. On the basis of test results, inferences were drawn and research objectives were achieved. These were the use of statistical tools. Findings and discussion, objective 1 wise. In this chapter, the research results related to achieving the first objective were found out based on an extensive study of available research journals, government reports, websites and books that inter alia included the social security system of other countries also. Based on this endeavor, various facts came out, and in the light of that, various recommendations have also been made, which have been discussed in the concluding chapter of this study. The study started by comparing the Organized Social Security Act with other labor laws meant for organized workers. It was found out that in terms of quality or quantity, both the different labor laws which are meant for organized workers are better than those for unorganized workers. The Unorganized Workers Social Security Act provided a mechanism to run social security schemes by different governments. Provisions related to Central Social Security Board and the State Social Security Board is very important and pertinent. Besides, they specifically mentioned some schemes are run by central government with the contribution of the state government. These schemes have been discussed in detail in the introduction chapter of the thesis. The Act does not restrict the government to provide only certain benefits to workers. Rather, it provides a mechanism to initiate and operate the provision of this Act. Thus, it depends on the sincerity and promptness of the governments to increase the scope of the law to cover all organized workers. But for unorganized workers, no such provisions were there at all. Only in 2008, this Act was passed to provide social security benefits to unorganized workers through various schemes under the Act. Researchers also compared the nature, the scope and social protection for organized workers in India with the same in other countries. In South Korea, all employees, whether organized or unorganized, are covered under social security cover. In Japan also, social security covers all citizens. In Canada, minimum social security is provided across different employment. In Thailand, the implementation of social security benefits has not been much successful. In People's Republic of China, there is no uniformity in coverage and the scope of social security. Objective 2A, this section examines the relationship among different categorical variables. For that, the researcher used the chi-square test. The level of significance is 5%. There is no significant impact of gender or category of work. The chi-square value is quite significant in this case. So, when we are talking about relationship among different categorical variables, then we found that impact of different type of you can say whether we are talking about gender, category, age, community, they did not have effect. But yes, gender has it. Gender has effect. It means that on the people were not doing all types of work, which were basically, you can say, skilled. So out of these organized workers, there were some skilled workers. That was the predominantly done by the male, not female. Otherwise, in case of other types of, you can say, we found that there is no significant impact of any category or any type of, you can say, impact of age. So actually, technically, should be there is significant impact of gender on category of work in this one. Otherwise, there is no significant impact of age on category of work. There is no significant impact of level of education on category of work. Even 12th pass, 7th pass, illiterate, they are doing the same thing. There is no significant impact of community, whether they belong to any type of religion or caste, it did not affect it. There is no significant impact of marital status, whether they were married or unmarried, it did not affect it. So here it is correct. First was rejected, rest were not rejected. Objective 2A. The test result proves that gender has to do with the category of work, but age is not a factor to determine category of work. Education is also not there, community is also not there. Now objective 2B. In this section, the researcher tried to understand the awareness of organized workers about social security schemes under the Act. All schemes under the Act have been considered separately to gauge the level of awareness. Because if we are going to a state, we ask about the law, a state where you was going to get the answer no. So we specifically talked about the schemes under that. But thing was that a large number of workers are not aware about the schemes majorly. So whether we are talking about National Family Benefit Scheme, Indira Gandhi National Old Age Pension Scheme, Jaldi Suraksha Yojana, they were not aware of. So in case of Jaldi Suraksha Yojana, more than half of the respondents said that they are not aware, but half were aware. But in case of Aam Aadmi Bima Yojana, they said that they just heard about the name. But regarding the first two schemes, they did not know about anything. Awareness towards Ayushman Yojana. This scheme is very popular scheme of the government of India. When respondents were asked about the scheme, majority of workers said that they have just heard the name of the scheme or don't know anything about the scheme. Around 15% of workers remained neutral to answer, and a significant number of persons said they had some knowledge about the scheme. What are the benefits, how they are going to approach, they did not know. In objective 2C, The researcher has examined role of demographic variables, namely age, gender, community, education level, marital status in the level of awareness of schemes, and for this we have applied an ANOVA test at 5% of significance level. And there is no difference in male and female workers towards awareness of Indira Gandhi National Old Age Pension Scheme. So not rejected, all things, it means that all scheme they were having no knowledge, irrespective of their age group, their community, their gender. Objective C, 2C. So the above test gives us some important result. There is no difference in gender towards awareness of the scheme. There is no difference in the age group. There is no difference in the educational qualification. There is no difference in the communities. There is no difference in the categories. So it can be concluded that demographic variables is not relevant so far as awareness about the scheme is concerned. Now coming to objective 3, relationship between the level of awareness and the meaningfulness towards the scheme. In this section, the researcher relies awareness among workers about the schemes and the meaningfulness towards the scheme. So there is no significant relationship between the level of awareness and the meaningfulness towards Indira Gandhi National Old Age Scheme and other schemes. So what was the conclusion? It was found that there was no relationship between the level of awareness and meaningfulness towards Indira Gandhi Old Age Pension Scheme, National Family Benefit Scheme, Aam Aadmi Bima Yojana, Ayushman Yojana. In case of Jan Dhan Suraksha Yojana, there was found to be relationship between the level of awareness and meaningfulness. Only this scheme they found that if they are aware, they are going to get the benefit. Now coming to objective 4, which was basically qualitative in nature. An important step in this research was to contact and get an overview of different authorities concerned with implementation of the Act on their respective roles and responsibility towards providing social security to the intended organized construction workers. In this regard, the views of the human resource management experts were also taken. To achieve these goals, focused interviews were conducted and the views of the different authorities and experts were recorded. For this purpose, an open-ended questionnaire was utilized to give them a chance to frankly elicit their respective opinions. Their opinion mostly emphasized the point that though this Act makes provision for the different categories of organized workers, their provisions are not sufficient. There is also no clarity as to how to find unorganized workers. Intra-state migration of these workers has made the matter more complex. Intra-state migration means that within the state from one place to another place the people are migrating. So they don't fall under the domain of any type of district. Though new social security code, that's very important. Now the government has passed the social security code in 2019, but still they have not made any type of massive change in social security code. Social security code again repeating the same thing. So though no social security codes have been passed recently, it has been passed, still there is not much change in the administration of social security provisions. The social security board has not been constituted till last time because my data was collected till 2022, but still 2023 and 24 there was no social security board was constituted in Punjab. When I asked to the labor officers and other officers also, no coordinating agency are there to help different authorities concerned with implementation of Act. Normally there should be a coordinating agency who are going to coordinate. Like I said, this law was made by the central government and labor is in concurrent list. Concurrent list means that central government can also make the law, state government can also make the law. So naturally, in case of Factory Act, there is a provision of coordination, but here there is no provision of coordination between the central government or state government or local government. So it does not make any type of provision. So no coordinating agencies are there to help different authorities concerned with implementation of the Act. And this is not my view, this is the view of the officers, labor officers, and even some of the HR officers of the public sector undertaking. Like I also take the view of the General Manager of National Hydroelectric Power Corporation, two of them, and one legal officer from the L&T company, apart from the labor officers. Although different authorities and experts were very cooperative while responding to questions, though they prefer to remain silent on answering some questions. Since the focus of the interview was exploratory, in consonance with the research focus, these interviews gave very important pieces of information. In response to the first question regarding how they deal with the Act, the response was that like other labor laws, they are dealing with the Act and the schemes, but schemes like Jan Dhan Suraksha Yojana, funding is done through Health Department. Besides, Office of the DC also contributes its role. Now, normally it should have been done by the Labor Department, but here the Office of the Deputy Commissioner is also involved, and again stated that though there are various provisions under the Act to facilitate social security and welfare provisions, they are not sufficient enough. Regarding the third question, respondent just gave the reply that it operates as per the provision of the Act. The next question was on awareness level of the workforce regarding the schemes of the law. The answer was that such workers are hardly aware about the Act or schemes. The related question was asked as to how they propose to increase the awareness level of the workers. That if they are not aware, then as a public authority, how you are going to encourage it? The researcher got the mixed response. The majority view was that local civic bodies should be involved. It means that Gram Panchayat or urban local bodies, they can be utilized in spreading the information about the laws and the schemes. When the question was asked as to how many schemes are running in your area, the answer was all schemes are running, but the details were not shared with the researcher. The next question was whether these schemes are meaningful to workers. Half of the respondents answered in affirmative, the rest refused to answer. The next question was regarding purposefulness of the Act for the social security of the unorganized workers. The answer was that yes, it was serving the intended purpose. Then a question was asked about as to whether they are clear about their roles under the Act. Answer was in affirmative. Lastly, recommendations were sought from the experts and authorities. Suggestions were various and included mandatory registration of unorganized workers. That is very important. Registration provision has been done by the current government, like on e-Shram portal. Now e-Shram portal is there, but that is not mandatory. That is voluntary. So that is the problem. So suggestions were various and included like mandatory registration. Then they talked about involvement of civic bodies, then monthly monitoring meeting of the concerned authorities, regular updating in the registration list, then developing a comprehensive system of social security for unorganized services like it happened in USA. Umbrella Social Security Act. If you are a permanent citizen of USA, you are under the ambit of social security. You get all types of benefits if you are permanent citizen. But in case of India, that such types of social security is not there. Implied State Insurance Act was passed in the year 1948 for this purpose. But there was two things. First is that it is contributory. Second, it does not cover the organized workers. And organized workers, as I already told you, 91% workers in India are unorganized workers. So ESI, though the contribution is only 0.75% of your wages, but it still covers only the organized, not organized workers, only the organized workers. So that is the problem. Although the ESI tried to develop a pilot project in Delhi for the rickshaw pullers, but that is not successful very much. These regulations proved very meaningful. These suggestions proved very meaningful in achieving the objective of this research. The authorities and experts were interviewed were officers of Labour Department, experts of HR connected with implementation of labour laws. So conclusion. The following conclusions are reached based on the research work done both from the literature review and the focused interview. The data analysis also supported these conclusions. On the basis of these concluding findings, relevant suggestions were made. First, majority of the organized construction workers are unaware of the different provisions under the Act for their social security. Awareness and meaningfulness is not correlated. Almost all the unorganized workers were migrant workers. That is also an interesting fact. Almost all were migrant workers. Migrant workers were not staying in one place of work or residence, and that also suppose that they have come to Jalandhar. But it is not that they are going to continue for even for 1 month. Within a month, I found that they were moving. And sometimes they were not speaking. Then their wives also spoke about that. That actually he is moving. I am staying here, but my husband is moving from Ludhiana, from Jalandhar and from all those places. Non-unionization of the organized workers, they are not covered under any type of union. Role of labor contractors agents are very significant. What is labor contractors? If some workers are working in this place, then what they do, after some time, sometimes they become labor contractors. They contact their contacts in the villages, they ask them to come and join here. So they become labor contractors. Less number of female workers as compared to male workers, very less. And even those female workers, all these female workers were married. Unmarried female workers were not found out. So husband is working, sometimes they are also working. And that too basically with the case of Chhattisgarh. Chhattisgarh workers that happened. No income security through an effective mechanism was there. No income security. If they are not working a day, they have to sleep hungry. If you work, you will be getting the food, otherwise while you sleep hungry. Exact population data not available, only rough estimate available. Less research, less reach of government schemes. I've already told, very low literacy rate. Poor living and working conditions. Female workers less paid. That is also a problem because there is no case of bargaining. Either you get the job or leave the job. Casual nature of job. NGO in different attitude. There are so many NGOs. They are taking money from international labor organization also. ILO is providing money to these types of organization NGO, but they are not doing any type of work for unorganized workers. Drug addiction is prevalent. That was an interesting fact that when I started to go and study, many of the cases, their income was less, but they were suffering from drug addictions. Though they are not from this place, but they have learned to go for the drug addiction. There are two research implications and managerial implications. This study and research implications which are eye-opener and call for further investigation into the issues related to unorganized work construction workers. More and more challenges are associated with the implementation of the schemes or statutory provisions since ever-changing external environment generally influences the variables concerned with the research. The example of COVID-19 can be cited that made it difficult to study the social security aspect of unorganized construction workers. The study can be associated with the new concept of service learning. I have presented a paper in also conference paper on service learning in Christ University with the faculty of Delhi University, Dr. Ujjwal. We jointly presented a paper on service learning and how can service learning be used for unorganized workers. That involves students of various institutions in providing benefits and making the workers aware about the provisions and schemes launched by the government. So here we can take the help of the students, and that is the concept of service learning. That happens in Philippines, it is very prevalent. In other countries also prevalent. So service learning concept can be utilized. Through this concept is not very much used in India, but in academic discussion and research, its importance is highly appreciated. In the last few years, adoption of service learning in higher educational institutions has emerged as a modern teaching and learning strategy. Salam M has told in the year 2019. Here it can inter alia help the vulnerable group to be made aware of the statutory provisions in India. Service learning pedagogy seeks to enhance academic rigor with practical relevance, set in a context of civic engagement, which furnishes the students with a broader and richer educational experience. Besides, the students, in collaboration with NGOs, government authorities and ILO, may be instrumental in providing social security benefits. Universities and colleges may conduct workshops and seminars to address the issues and problems associated with the unorganized construction workers. Thus, observing and analyzing ever-changing external situations related to this research area and application of service learning practice may provide a new dimension research for the society. Now coming to managerial implication, it has got certain managerial implication too. Though the study majorly studied the issue of unorganized construction sector workers, it has certain managerial implications too. It is interesting because when they are not working in an organization, how can there be managerial implication? But managerial implications can be there. How? Since most of the business organizations, including family-run businesses, in India most of the businesses are family-run. Whether we are talking about Tata, whether we are talking about Birla, any type of, they are family-run business. So they have trade unions of workers. One feature is that they have trade unions of workers. They can use it up for finding unorganized workers and engaging or training them. Once they are registered through the worker union or any business organization, they will be in a position to avail some benefits related employment. With the advent of gig economy, the significance of organized workforce has increased suddenly, and hence managers now cannot avoid informal workforce. The term gig economy is defined by a market which is based on a fixed term contract or that paid per project by company, third party or online marketplace. Hence the traditional system of ignoring the organized sector is no longer possible. Rather, this sector needs to be recognized and issues need to be addressed. Managers of different levels as members of the society must play their part in providing benefits to organized workers in all earnest. Here for CSR, 2% of the net benefit they have to give. So from CSR also they can help the organized workers. Now recommendations. These were the recommendations based upon my research. On the basis of research work done, following recommendations are proposed for improvement in the current situations. First of all, identification and registration of unorganized workers, that is the prominent thing. unless you identify the workers, unless you register them, you cannot provide them any sorts of benefits. So that is the prime thing. Establishment of a coordinating agency at the district level at least is required.
There is provision for announcing how many employees unorganized. Every construction company has a ledger or a list of attendance. They have a number of employees working under it. So the point number one, identification and registration of unorganized worker. How two things?
Okay, you are, I think, basically talking about building construction workers too.
Yes, construction.
In that case, there are 2 or 3 things are there.
Right.
One is that you have to be at least for 90 days in a state. If you are less than 90 days, this act is not applicable. Then there is minimum number of workers has to be there in the company. And thirdly, there is certain amount of the money that I actually forget. That amount of money has to be spent only then the workers should be covered. In case of organized workers, because they are not working in a particular organization, so it is very difficult to find it out. Maybe that is out of those organized workers, some of them would be there in the company that you are exactly saying rightly. But majority of the case they are not registered because their job is not itself fixed. Today in this company, tomorrow in that company, if the moment they get registered within the company, then they are no longer organized that way. That is the thing. Because initially when I started my research in 2015-16, I have added that Building Construction Workers Act also. But this was suggestion of the panel that you cannot do that because under that technically they are not organized, and secondly,
You have never mentioned in the whole discussion that this was not included. Okay, point number second. Okay. I got your point.
then establishment of coordinating agencies. Coordinating agencies, now the things are to be done by 2 or 3 persons, departments. One is the labor department. Then there is the deputy commissioner office. And then there is the local bodies. So there should be certain coordination. There is no coordination meeting happening. That the government has made. This is a framework type of act. They have made the schemes. The schemes are there. Labor also know about it also. But how it is being operated?
Have you given any framework for this? No, only you have given the one-line suggestion. Framework, no framework is given in the thesis.
I think in the thesis I am talking about whatsoever I have written about the establishment of coordinating agency. Basically what I meant to be that the authorities are there, but there should be just a channel through which there should be every time there should be a monthly meeting. It is not that the authorities are not there. Authorities are there, but they are not conducting the meetings. So there should be monthly meeting. They should take, and the report should be prepared.
That you have not mentioned, or you have mentioned in which page number?
I think I have mentioned, but exactly what you are asking perhaps I have not.
Okay.
Proper communication of schemes and laws, that is 100% true that there is no communication of schemes and laws. First of all, they don't understand in Hindi and it is all in English. That is also a difficult thing. Waiving of the minimum period residential criteria, that I say. What you are talking about building construction work, because if there is a minimum residential period and if you are not found to be working in a particular organization for a particular period, you are not covered. So it is very difficult because every day they are coming, they are going, they are coming, they are going. Mandatory registration of workers under trade union. Now somebody may ask you why they should be registered under trade union when they are not working in the factory. We can at least do it. That in the adjacent places where such workers are there, trade unions should be additional burden and they should try to register them also so that they can get certain benefits. Framing of umbrella social security. Umbrella social security act means that there should not be different fragments of the labor law. There should be one law that should cover all aspects of the social security and how it should be provided, at what level and how it is going to be monitored. So there should be umbrella social security act as it is there in the USA. That should be in India also.
What is the condition of trade union when you have done the research in Punjab? What is the condition of trade union, or how many trade unions are there in Punjab area? Because you have studied the Punjab area and your geography.
Basically, I focused upon only the organized workers, but because that was my area of interest. All the work, there are confederation of union also there. Their local level of industry level unions are also there. Plant level unions are also there, and they are affiliated to different political parties also. You know, in India, all the trade unions are affiliated to political parties. They are working for their cause also.
Okay.
But thing is that they have totally ignored the organized workers. My suggestion is that they should also take in fold the organized workers also, and how they can do it. Suppose that it is in Ludhiana, so you can take in certain areas in Ludhiana are there, at least try to register them somehow or other. That is the very basic problem.
What you are explaining is absolutely correct, but the kind of model you are saying, you have not mentioned it or you have not made it the proposed model.
Okay.
That is the weakness of your thesis.
Okay.
Because your knowledge is so vast, you know the things in depth, but putting on the paper is missing. That is the couple of questions examiners have asked on this. So I just want to reiterate
Okay.
what things are written or
No.
exactly what you
No,
are
very
saying.
relevant question you have asked.
Yes, right. Okay, go forward.
Then I told about constitution of all India labor service. Now what, like there is an Indian administrative service and there is a state service. Now when we are talking about Indian administrative service, Indian police service, there are basically three all India services in India. Indian administrative service, Indian police service and Indian forest service. They work under the state government, also central government. A basic purpose is that there should be uniformity. So in case of labor law, when the law is made by the central government, when there is central and it is in a concurrent list, why should not there should be all India labor service? They are looking after the interest of the state government also, central government also. Right now the state, now under this act, there is a central level enforcement officer, they are sitting in Chandigarh, and then there is a state level enforcement officer. So there is lack of coordination among the labor officers also. So there should be one all India level service, like there is for the administrative service, it can be for the labor. That is making the thing better. Provision of the adjudication authorities in the Act. Now under Industrial Disputes Act, we have arbitration, labor laws, we have tribunals, industrial tribunals, industrial tribunals. But in case of organized workers, there is no situation of adjudication. Suppose that somebody worked for 30 days or 60 days and he did not get a wage. Where will he go? Under the current system, he cannot go anywhere because he is not registered under any type of. So there should be a certain system of adjudication also where he can raise his concern. Then establishment of WFC, Workers Facilitation Center, and it is actually there in Karnataka. In Karnataka state, I have mentioned in detail, the same recommendation in detail in my thesis, that in Karnataka there is a Worker Facilitation Center and they have copied it from Germany and they are providing all sorts of facility, training, etc. and other facilities also. So that should be there in all states.
How many papers are published out of that? That's a model work. Have you referred to it and published some paper? You have.
Not all parts are there, but certain things are there, like the, yes, in family business part I have already get the publication, and then for ABDC I got a publication when I wrote about collective bargaining in Finland, Canada, India and China. I compared that paper I have discussed. Then setting up a knowledge dissemination and counseling center for organized workers. Now there should be certain center, although it is related to WFC, but it would be a different, where we are basically providing certain type of skill, but they are lacking skill. And now government is providing so many benefits skill. Why not a skill development for the organized workers at a particular center? Involvement of local bodies in social things. Local bodies means that urban local bodies, municipal corporations, they can be easily made available to these type of workers. They can go there, they can help there, and legal aid facility. There should be certain types of legal aid facility also, where the law would be there, legal aid facility would be provided by the lawyers who would be taking their cause. These were the limitations. Population size very large. There is huge population size. Research papers I found very difficult. Somehow or other I managed. Even some of the related papers I have found out. The reluctance of the workers to elicit their relevant information, they were not in a mood. Sometimes they have to go to, one time I have to go to a takeouts to discuss with them. And I have to take them in confidence. I did not take the legal, but I have to make them in confidence and then they started discussing. Sometimes they did not tell me anything, their wives tell me that such things are happening. Because initially they thought that I am going to do something on part of the government. I am going to take certain action against them. So that was the problem. The research was limited to cities of Punjab only, that is also limited. Government authority is not easily available. It was very difficult to be available and to contact them. Further research areas. Based on my research, I found out that a further detailed study on the following areas which are linked to this study can be done for the benefit of society and the country. Provisions under the Employee State Insurance Act may be extended to organized construction workers also, and mechanisms for the same need to be developed and studied in detail. Very briefly, I would say why I am deciding this particular act, Employee State Insurance Act, because under this act, there are 5 to 6 types of benefits are there, like sickness benefit, medical benefit, disability benefit. All these types of benefits are there that if a person will, so I'm going to repeat the point. Why I'm talking about this Act, Employees State Insurance Act 48, because under this Act, there are provisions in case of sickness, in case of accident, in case of any type of disability, in case of maternity. All these things are taken care under this Act. So the same can be applied to the construction workers also. A specific issue of female organized construction workers and other construction workers in the organized sector can be separately studied, keeping in view their specific issues and problems. So female workers have their different problems again, because they are the organized workers are the exploited one, and the female among them is the most exploited. The impact of the different environmental factors on the social security of workers can be studied. Social security benefits for migrant workers across the country are a good area for further exploration. So we can go for the migrant workers also. The role of non-government agencies to expedite the process of social security for different category of workers is a very interesting topic for further research for social scientists and other researchers. The role of trade unions to include unorganized workers is an important area to be studied and analyzed in detail. The social security system followed in other countries for unorganized workers remains an interesting area to be studied by researchers. These are the references. Copyright I got under this mandatory requirement. We'll try to know the attitude of the unorganized workers. Paper, international conferences. This was the person, he came for 10 years. For 10 years he was working. He worked for 10 years. But why I am mentioning him? Interestingly, he was here in Ludhiana 10 years. So I met him in 2020 and he was working here for a long period of time. But incidentally, last year in 2024, when I visited an apartment in Gwalior, I found him working as a security guard in that apartment. Then I remembered his name.
Okay.
And so he just congratulated me. That's how you recognized me. And I was happy that from organized workers, at least he has become a security guard in a big building. Okay, this is why I put his photograph.
So unorganized to organized, he has reached to that stage.
Yes.
Okay.
And that was, he was getting all benefits. I talked to him. He was very happy. He was getting good salary and everything was there.
Okay.
So that was on my part, ma'am. Thank you for patiently listening everything, whatsoever I said.
No, congratulations. You have tried to defend your work. You have worked very hard, Mr. Ujjwal, for the title which you have mentioned and try to justify your objectives which have been set for the work. But as a protocol, I have to ask a couple of questions. You are able to answer few things during your presentation, but few things are still to be asked. The first question is, you have mentioned in your title the Security Act 2008.
Yes, ma'am.
Why you have mentioned that?
Just okay. So about the title, why I selected this thing? Thing was that I was trying to study about unorganized workers.
Right.
And I have to study about the social security of that act.
Right.
When I try to find out is there any provisions, because on my personal experience when I come from one place to another place, and technically I am also a migrant type of person, though educated. So I found that why so many people are catching the train and going to Punjab and Haryana and Maharashtra from Bihar, UP and all those places. There should be some reason. And if they are going there, so what are the things they are getting? So it gradually developed my interest in that thing. Then I thought that okay, in factory workers and for organized workers, everybody studied, and it would be easier for me also. If I select an organization, I get the data easily, and everything would be very easy. But I selected, I don't know whether I did good or bad, but I selected organized workers, and I thought that I should study about social security. But when I started to study, because my area of interest was in industrial relation and labor, because I have done my postgraduate in personal management industrial relation. this subject also in the class. So I thought that why should not I try to find out the social security organized workers? And to my utter surprise, I was flabbergasted to see that there was no single law made by the state government or central government for organized workers, except that was made in the year 2008 Organized Workers Social Security Act. Then I went to have that Building Construction Workers Act, but under the act there were certain types of things that keep these workers out of the ambit of that. So technically 80 or 90% of workers will be out of that. So there was no point of studying that act. So I just confined to that act. Apart from this act, in Punjab there was no state act, in central government there was no state, in Maharashtra there is no state act. Yes, in Karnataka there is no act, but they have made certain schemes.
No, actually, I think her context of the question is why you have mentioned.
This act.
Yeah.
इसके बाद कुछ और एक्ट हुआ है, इसके बाद इसमें अमेंडमेंट हुई है या
No, no,
आज
no.
तक 208 ही एग्जिस्ट कर रहा है?
I am just coming to that. I am just coming to that. The government tried to make a social security code in 2019, and all the social security act, provident fund act, ESI act were subsumed in that. So technically, though I by research this is was 2022, and this law was passed in 2019, but this was approved by published by the government in 2022, because as per the norms, if the act is passed, it has to be published by the different state governments. No state government has published. If we are talking about Punjab, it published way back in the December 2022 it passed. But even after that, it is not operative. It is not working in any state. Even in Madhya Pradesh it is not working because stakeholders has not been consulted. Trade unions has also not supported. Now you say, sir, why trade union in this connection? Because in this social security code, they are not talking about unorganized workers. They are talking about all social security acts like Provident Fund Act, Maternity Benefit Acts, ESI Act, which cover factory also. So automatically this is not seen that
Updated one, this is the old one is still exists.
still, and whatsoever is the provisions that have been amended, that anybody can see that it is 2025. Why you are studying 2008? Like Factory Act 48 is still there. Industrial Disputes Act 47 is still there. Recently, last month, the court judgment are there. No court has taken any judgment on the basis of Social Security Code, Labor Code, or Industrial Code. Those courts are not functional. Even yesterday, in a funny way, I am asking somebody, some faculty from here, कि मैम पंजाब में तो अभी कोड लागू हुआ नहीं ना, क्योंकि लास्ट मंथ तक तो नहीं हुआ था. तो no, it is not applicable. Even Labor Enforcement Officer will come. This is why.
So you mean to say that all is applicable to organized sector but not unorganized sector?
I'm just emphasizing what I wanted to say that. There are labor codes. The government has divided all the labor codes in 4 parts.
Yes.
When we are coming to about social security code, there is social security. But social security for whom? Social security for all, organized and unorganized. So social security was already there for organized workers like Provident Fund Act, ESI Act, Workman Compensation Act, Payment of Gratuity Act. All these acts were there. So all these acts were subsumed in the social security code, including this act. But the entire code is not applicable. So how that one part of that code is applicable? Entire social security code is not operative. Till 2022 it was not operative, and I think till today it is also not operative. Otherwise I could have changed it to Social Security Code 2019.
That's what I was wondering. That's what I was wondering. The another question was in the review of literature.
Yes, ma'am.
You have done very extensive study, try to bring up whatever the different researches have been done and try to correlate with the objectives and this. But there is a psychological factor which
Yes.
nowhere is visible.
I would say that in my thesis there was a comment from that. So I added those things. I added at least 10 to 11 whatsoever is available. Although most of them were not directly applicable in India, but they were applicable to construction workers across the world. So I tried to find out the mental agony, and these are mentioned in my PPT also. In review of literature, now it is mentioned.
Achha, now you have incorporated.
And I would say that which page number also I will let you know, because there is some difference in page number here and there. Because in hardbound it has
I
that
got it.
bounding is changed.
Okay, that sounds okay. That sounds okay. The next question
Page 48.
comes
Yes.
when you have done the statistical analysis, perfectly all right, all the data analysis you have done, tools are perfectly all right. But when you analyze, no secondary data was views, because previous studies were there and what you have found out in your study, are they talking on the same lines? They are coherent?
Actually, the first thing that I've already told you that there is no review of literature level. But after that recommendation, I tried to find out. I mentioned also page number 60, 61 and 10, 15, where SNC has find out about the awareness, and he concluded that there is no awareness about that. In the case of migrant workers, he could not find it about the organized workers. But we have to correlate. We consider that migrant workers we should consider migrant workers as unorganized workers.
This is one part. You have mentioned in one of the slides different countries, Japan,
Yes,
Germany, and all these, they also have unorganized workers. So what your study or what you're finding are coherent with that country, also their unorganized
Actually,
workers?
thing is that in whatsoever way we have divided, it is not divided that way. Like in developed country in Canada and America.
Doesn't matter, but
But if they were in the construction,
situation for the worker is the same.
not in all respect it was there. Like in case of construction workers, they were getting other benefits, but accidents prone they were there. So certain aspects they were common things were there because they were in the construction. Because it was very difficult for me to find out organized workers in that country, so I have to switch it. I have to find it another way. That suppose that I find out that is there any risk of life in organized workers in Japan? No ban. Then I try to convert it to, well, is there any type of risk on construction workers? So on that key, I got it. But that is not 100% organized workers. They are construction workers.
They have certain norms, because in any construction area, if a worker goes, he has to wear the cap and the security kit, gloves has to be wear. But here in India, we are not so stringent, or the laws are not stringent, and the construction owner is also not so aware of the things, or he want to save the money.
Yes,
So
save the money.
cutting the cost is the another option. He is not enforcing the unorganized worker to use all the toolkits. So
Yes.
mention these are the things. Is there any similarity between the area Punjab you have taken or the another study of any other country, or within the India any other state somebody researcher has done? Are they coherent with the
Ma'am, very
same?
pertinent question. Thing is that this unorganized found only in Southeast. India, Bangladesh, Pakistan.
Right.
I did not find any type of research
Sri Lanka
there.
or any-
Yes. In other developed countries like that, where I find there is no concept of organized workers as such that I could find it out. Somehow or other, I have to find out certain commonalities. That on the basis of that I see.
No, where the developing countries and Asian countries, can you find something which is going aligned to your study? Have you come
I
across?
mentioned whatsoever was possible, I aligned certain things. Like in construction workers, sometimes there is a problem in that country also. But thing is that they are looking after it. We are not looking after it this way.
Right. That's it. You are able to answer most of the questions. The another thing is, that is the highlighted thing. What you have concluded is based on the analysis is basically generalized kind of a thing. You have not developed any model, because contribution to the literature is missing. Can you justify that? You can propose some model or some methodology or some different, as you said, labor department and other 3 departments are there and they are not working cohesively, or they are not having a monthly meeting, or you can prepare some schedule kind of a thing
Yes,
to
ma'am.
propose the government, so that your thesis can be used as a model for the further research, or the government can take benefit out of that.
The actually thing is that you are very true that in that way structured model was not there. Because
Or
there are
something like that. I'm
there
just
are
saying.
so many issues are involved. So I just ready to go for more further research in this area.
Okay.
It calls for more further research area and more detailed type of things are there. On the
What is
basis-
missing? What detail you are looking for?
No, I think my suggestion was that there are so many types of suggestions on my part that can be administered, but that is just only a part of it. There can be some other things can be also added, because like if I talk about coordinating agencies, maybe that government would be just making certain types of elected body and something like that.
So that is what I'm saying. You have to prepare a model for that. The proposed model, government can look into this kind of a model
ma'am, you are trying to say is that the recommendations which you have given is just one line recommendation, right? Every recommendation, if worked properly, can have a framework for everything, which can be used as a base for the government officials as well to go ahead to deal with all the problems. So I think that you can go with the good research publications if you go deeply onto every recommendation of yours, which is missing as what ma'am has said.
Okay.
Is it right?
Yes, yes. Yes, properly.
He has categorized the recommendation into two parts. Previously, one liner wala that was not relevant. Then after he discussed that was quite relevant.
He has tried to justify the work. Your work is very good, but there is always scope for
Then
improvement.
naturally,
We were looking at the perspective of government,
And that-
how your work
Yes, yes.
can be taken to the next level.
my purpose was also that.
Yes, it can be used. Government has not to do this primary research. You have done it, and they can take it further forward.
So my only question,
Please.
I think ma'am has very in-depth asked you a lot of things. I have one question. I have observed during your presentation that you talk about various countries like US or another
Germany,
country,
Japan.
Their social security in unorganized sector is quite okay, successful. But in India, as you have mentioned, it's not. So being a researcher, as you have explored, just to add content to my knowledge itself, what do you think that, what is the reason why unorganized sector in India is not successful? Why? As our contribution in GDP is also very high, and the number of workers which are into unorganized sector is also very high. But still, it's a failure for us, country like India. So what do you think that from
there-
your study? which
There
you
are
can
various
see-
factors, not one variable is there. One thing is that too large size of population and gross unemployment. Because when we are talking about labor market, supply and demand, thing is that the more educated you become, the more chances of unemployment is there. Because our education system is not linked with the demand of the market. We pay attention to education, not to skill. So if the people get skilled, perhaps there will not be any type of need of any type of any job. You can create job. You can be self-employed if you are skilled on different various types of things. Now, very common thing is that in USA the most talented person go for legal profession or any type of business. But in India the most talented person go for civil services. When in USA mediocre person go for the civil services. Because there is some feudal type of mentality also. Historically, we have been under foreign rules. So these things have made us, we are not such a type of entrepreneurs like Europeans who came to other countries to do business and etc. So we somehow or other just want to get a comfortable job. And naturally jobs are less. And you are not matching with that. So naturally unemployment is there. And when unemployment is there, you have to get some job somehow or other. So you have to move from your place of origin to other place. Because normally, and in certain part of our country, eastern part of the country, population is high and they are suffering from flood and etc. They are not any type of business,
You
nothing.
mean to say number game is very.
Number is there and because though we
But
are,
don't you think so this number can be a strength for us?
it can be strength, but like China,
It's been organized
like
in an appropriate.
till recently China was had more
Yeah.
population than us, but China put more emphasis upon skill. Now they have even the small child, they are just making them learn so many types of martial art and everything there. So they are not a liability. We just make a liability.
So what I found during your whole presentation, that yes, there is a huge scope because in one of your recommendations you mentioned about gig economy. And gig economy is one of the point of discussion from last 2-3 years after COVID. Because gig is also considered to be unorganized sector. Scope is there, but government intervention is
And things that government cannot do, to what extent? Government resources are also limited.
Thank you so much. Congratulations, Dr. Ujjwal.
Now you have become doctor.
Yeah, you became doctor.
So I was just expecting that ma'am will congratulate by saying from Mr. Ujjwal to Dr. Ujjwal.
Yeah, Mr. Ujjwal to Dr. Ujjwal. Congratulations. This is
Congratulations.
the accomplishment of your life.
Congratulations so much.